please welcome Andrew Yang. Hey.
Well, Mr. Yang, I was telling you I have a dear friend who's part of the Yang Gang and is riding very hard for you. So he's very excited you're on today. So I was first really introduced to you in the last debate, but there's a controversy going on right now because you accused NBC of cutting your mic off at times when you wanted to interject. NBC has denied that's happened, but it's a big conspiracy all over the internet. Can you clarify what happened?
Well, I was only asked 2 questions over 2 hours, and that's, there for everyone to see. And so I just shared my experience with some supporters after the fact. But we're just thrilled that I have another debate in July and then also in September and October to keep getting our ideas out to the American people.
But how do you make it so you speak more than 3 minutes?
Well, we were joking that maybe I'd have like a sign or something, like hold it up. But we're very confident that we'll get more opportunities in the
Were you the only one that happened to? Or did somebody else also get screwed out?
I think one of the other candidates said that her mic was also cut at various times.
Marianne Williamson?
Yeah, I think that's right. I haven't talked to Marianne about it, though.
Yeah, because he spoke less than 3 minutes, or about 3 minutes. But you have some very dedicated followers. They call themselves the Yang Gang. Supporters wear hats that have math written across the top, make America think harder. YouTube channel dedicated to getting you elected called Nerds for Andrew Yang 2020. So, and I love that, actually, because I do think that, you know, I give a lot of credit to the American people. I think we're smarter than people are giving us credit for. And that's what I think you're trying to tap into. So tell us about that.
Well, my campaign's dedicated to trying to solve the problems that got Donald Trump elected. We're in the midst of the greatest economic transformation in the history of our country, what experts are calling the 4th Industrial Revolution. And so Make America Think Harder is trying to get America focused on the fact that it's certainly not immigrants that are causing these problems. It's the fact that technology is pushing our economy to a point where more and more Americans are having a harder time finding paths forward. Amazon's closing 30% of our malls and stores in the next 4 years, and being a retail worker is still the most common job in this country. The average retail worker is a 39-year-old woman making between $9 and $10 an hour. We know she doesn't have much in the way of savings. So as her stores close, the opportunities disappear. We have to start focusing on solving those problems, and that's what Make America Think Harder. It's the opposite of this call to yesteryear. We need to start solving the problems of today.
Is anybody in the Republican Party giving any thought to that, what you just said?
Well, when you talk to politicians about this economic transformation we're in the midst of, unfortunately, a lot of the solutions revolve around education and retraining. But I looked into the studies around retraining manufacturing workers in the Midwest, and the results were very, very bad. 0 to 15% success rates. So if you're a politician and you say, hey, we're going to educate Americans for the jobs of the future, then everyone's like, okay, that sounds great. But then when you dig into the reality, unfortunately, that's not the way it works.
Well, it didn't work, right? Because we tried to do that when we moved mining.
Yeah,
we said we were going to retrain people, and it didn't work, as we heard from various people saying, well, there's nothing out there for me.
Well, when they're climate deniers also, they don't even look at the possibility of having green jobs, which a lot of people could go into that. But anyway, you are also proposing something of a basic universal income, a freedom dividend,
that's right,
you call it. What does that mean exactly?
So this is an idea that's been with America since our founding. Thomas Paine was for it. Martin Luther King championed it in 1967. It's a dividend for every American as a right of citizenship. So under my plan, every American adult would receive $1,000 a month starting at age 18 every month until you expire.
What?
Yes. Yeah.
That will cost $3 trillion. Where's this money coming from? And what is the point of it, really? They say if you give a man a fish, if you give a man a fishing line, he can fish. If you give him one fish, he'll just eat that fish, something like that.
I think I know the saying you're talking about.
How does it go? You know that one I'm talking about? So you hand somebody $1,000. Now, what good is that? They spend the $1,000, big deal.
Though, for people that are struggling.
I know it's a bit of a game changer, but it's not a long-term solution. Come on.
It actually would help build a more human-centered economy, what I call the trickle-up economy, because it would allow more people to do the kind of work that they want to do, including people like my wife, who's at home with our 2 young boys, one of whom is autistic. And right now, the market values her work at 0. GDP values her work at 0. If you start putting resources into our hands, it actually expands what we think of as work.
Well, now you're talking about paying women for doing housework and doing work at home, being mothers. That's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
Oh, good.
That's different.
It's
different.
Well, I mean, again, and this is a game changer for the waitress at the diner who's getting harassed by her boss. It's a game changer for the single mom who's stuck in an abusive relationship.
Yes.
Like, we need to put the economic resources into people's hands to be able to improve their situation.
Still, how are you going to pay for this exactly? Well, you know, listen to Elizabeth Warren. She's got a plan.
Yep.
She's charging 2% over certain millions and millions and millions. What are you going to do?
So my plan is to get the resources from the big winners of the 21st century economy. So the big winners are who? Amazon. Trillion-dollar company, paid zero in taxes, less than everyone in this room. Apple, Netflix, Google. These companies are great at just not paying a whole lot of taxes.
Right.
And so what you do is you have to look around the world and see that other countries have put a mechanism in place so the American people get a tiny slice of every Amazon sale, every Google search, every Facebook ad, every Uber mile, and that's enough to pay for a dividend of $1,000 a month, particularly because this money just comes back to us over and over again.
Yeah, but you're assuming that those companies are just going to go on ad infinitum, making millions and millions.
Amazon seems to be doing that.
With all due respect, as the millennial at the table, I would love
What about me? I'm a millennial.
But my generation... Okay, excuse me, it's Joy and I as the millennials at the table. But every Democrat that comes on, the answer is write a check. And the problem is the deficit is going to my generation, and that's already the problem right now. So is there
Wait a
any
minute,
answer
who created
to anything?
that deficit?
I'm asking
Your
the
party.
presidential candidate this question,
All right.
if you don't mind.
I don't mind, but I want to answer it
Do you
anyway.
have an answer that is... Okay.
Go ahead.
Sir, you can
Keep it
answer over
going.
you.
No, please. I understand the question. And so I've run companies, and you have a revenue problem in this country, and you have an expense problem in this country. And you have to go after both of them. But the big winners, so if you have artificial intelligence that Amazon's investing billions of dollars in, could displace 3.5 million truck drivers. Right now, it's the most common job in 29 states. The amount of value that gets generated from that, immense, almost unbelievable. And right now, the American people will get zero of that value. So if you put a mechanism in place, you can actually generate hundreds of billions of dollars.
How is Amazon?
Wait, hold on, because we're going to take a break, but we're coming right back. Stick around. He's going to stick around. You stick around, too.
To get to know more about your policies, let's do a lightning speed round with you.
Sure.
Universal health care, yes or no?
Yes.
Robert Mueller is set to testify July 17th. Should Congress start impeachment hearings?
We'd have to wait until his testimony, but I'm thrilled that he's going to be testifying for Congress.
What would he say that would change your mind to a definite yes?
You know, I'd have to see what the facts were. Also, I've been trying to put it on Congress to make that determination, really, because that's their job.
Okay. Closing the wealth gap, especially when it comes to the African-American community. Reparations a part of that?
Well, Martin Luther King championed a dividend for all Americans. I think that's where we should start, $1,000 a month for every American. And then reparations is a whole separate issue, because the $1,000 dividend doesn't address the historical legacy of slavery.
Why should rich white people get $1,000 a month?
Well, the great thing is that it'll remind them that they're still an American. but in Alaska,
Sir,
they have a dividend.
No one at this table needs an extra $1,000 a month.
But in Alaska, they have a dividend of $1,000.
Well, I wouldn't
give it away to charity.
I wouldn't
You could give it
feel
away to
right.
charity.
I mean, when there's still
that.
veterans on the street and
You could
homeless.
give it away.
But that's what you could
Give
use
it away to charity.
That's what he means when he says it reminds you you're an American.
Yeah.
It's not just about what you do for yourself, it's what you do for other folks.
And in Alaska, they give the dividend to everyone in Alaska from the petroleum fund, $1,000 to $2,000 a year, and it depoliticizes it, it destigmatizes it. It's just everyone gets it, and so there's no like, oh, you get it, I don't.
Right.
Immigration.
I'm the son of immigrants myself. I think we need to create a path to citizenship over the long term.
So you also have some unusual and I would say unorthodox stances as well. You came out against circumcision, correct?
Well, you know, I think parents need to educate themselves on what the health information is. You know, my wife and I obviously made a certain determination, but it should be in the hands of the parents.
In the hands of what?
The parents.
Parents just...
Because when you have a male
Literally and
baby, they just
figuratively.
toss it on you.
Well, they tried to.
They try to just toss it.
Yeah, they try to.
You also believe in free marriage counseling?
Yeah, the data shows that if you grow up in a two-parent household, certain outcomes are more likely. And so from a societal perspective, it makes perfect sense to try and keep couples together if they want to stay together.
So would that just be like a social worker for every couple in America?
Well, it'd be like a marriage counseling, stipend, essentially, where it's like if you decide to seek marriage counseling, then they can just go and get paid by...
My version of marriage counseling is drinking Jack Daniels, shooting some guns, and hanging out. So, like, my version is different than it works. No, just like going to a range. So I'm just saying, like, this universal a peg for every hole is always my problem with the left right now. There is not every American is different. Every American does things in different ways.
Oh, yeah.
So I would say, I don't know. You also believe in staffing a White House psychologist.
Yeah.
That's an idea.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I'm not mad at that one. That's fine.
Oh, good. Well, we need to destigmatize mental health issues in this country generally. And so if we have a psychologist in the White House, I thought it was a good idea before the current administration.
Do you think that he's capable of even doing such a thing?
You know what? It doesn't even matter. Thanks.
We'll have one in my administration.
That's right. Thanks to Andrew Yang. Really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep an eye on you. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Andrew Yang was here and made perfect sense to me. And I haven't heard really anybody else in the party, whatever party we're talking about, say, hey, do you realize that if Facebook and Amazon and all the other gigantic corporations paid any tax, we could find some relief for regular Americans?
Sure.
Do you agree with that?
Of course I do. I've been talking about that for years.
Well, no, I haven't. When Andrew came on and sort of broke it down, what he suggested, and I'm sure you know this because you've been spending time with him, but his idea was, if one of those companies gave every American $1,000, people's lives would change. What do you think of such an idea?
But this is what I think.
Okay.
I think that right now, when you have Donald Trump and his friends giving well over $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1% and large profitable corporations, I think that's obscene.
Right, but will you change that?
Of course I'll change it.
Well, how do I know this?
Because I've been talking about it for 25 years.
Well, you haven't. Not for me. Not like this.
No.
Yeah.
But look.
It's a little different.
What you got right now, Whoopi, this is what you got. You got Amazon, owned by the wealthiest guy in America, made over $10 billion in profit last year. Do you know what they paid in federal income tax?
Nothing.
Not a penny.
Yeah, I know.
That's insane.
I know. So what I'm asking you is it's your position that these corporations, all of these big corporations will now, if you're elected president, one of the things you're going to make sure that they do is they pay their fair share, and that will trickle to the American people.
That's at the very top of my agenda. Absolutely.
that's his
Absolutely.
I don't, I don't really know because, I've watched you over the last several years, and I've had lots of questions about what you want to do. So
Yang's also talking about giving every American money.
Yes.
All right, but I'm talking about giving every American a job, which I think is terribly important.
Hello, everyone. I'm here in the green room, and you know if it's a green room, it's Instagram Live time. I'm here with Hillary. Say hello. Shelby. Then Zach furiously typing away, or reading by the bills, one of those things. So this is he's actually working. So we're in the View headquarters in New York City, on the West Side. It's ABC. On the TV is some footage about impeachment, and sure went from 0 to 60 pretty quickly there. As you know, if you've been keeping up with it, I've been not excited about impeachment, but realized that at a certain point you have to hold the president accountable if he's literally going to withhold aid and lean on foreign leaders to try and kneecap political rivals. I mean, at some point you have to call it. I will say that how this unfolds politically is very much to be determined. I believe Nancy Pelosi was hesitant because of the political ramifications, potentially not being good, and also, in my opinion, Donald Trump wins when it's all about Donald Trump, and obviously impeachment is all about Donald Trump, and what the Democrats need to do is present a different narrative, different story, different set of solutions
different message, and impeach Trump is not really a message when it comes down to it. So those are at least some of the reasons why I was not excited about taking this step, but I agree with Nancy Pelosi that, you know, at some point you have to step up and do it. So that's where we are. We're in the View headquarters. On the campaign side, we have a big fundraising deadline, third quarter, which is September 30th, which is 5 days away or so, 4.5 days. And we're in great shape. We have a big fundraising goal of 1.5 million to close out the quarter. And if we get to 1.5 million, then we're going to be in a great place. Let's put it that way. We're going to shock the world. Yeah, I was about to make a Cory Booker reference, but it's all right. No. Cory and I are friends. I mean, most everyone knows this. So, but yeah, so thank you for everyone who's contributed to the campaign, particularly in this last week. And if you haven't contributed, please do throw in so you can be a part of history, because we think that this third quarter announcement is going to be a tectonic event, shall we say, in the political world. I was going to make a sort of a Star Wars reference, but probably would have fallen flat for some reason I had Star Wars in my brain for the last little while, because yesterday someone said to me something about the Force being with me, and being kind of an 80s kid and nerd, I really enjoyed that, and so now it's been with me ever since. So the View is going to be possibly preempted in certain parts of the country because of this, but it's going to air on tape delay or live in much of the country, and all of it will be available online. So if you're on the East Coast and you're like, where the heck is Andrew on The View? Then just check it out online. If you're on the West Coast, I think it'll air live. All right, thank you, Yang Gang. September 30th, Q3. Let's make history. See you all very soon. I'm off to New Hampshire a little bit later today, so if you're anywhere...
Welcome back, Andrew Yang.
So excited for you to be here.
Oh, I'm excited
They're
to be
going
here,
wild
too.
for you over
Gosh.
there. That group over there is.
And over here, too.
Get these guys right
Gang.
here. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Matt
I mean, it is kind of fabulous. You know, you're polling as high as 8%. But not long ago, the Washington Post ran a very dismissive story about you called "Random Man Runs for President." You know, I mean,
not very nice.
No, it wasn't very nice, and it really sort of pooped on the idea that every American can run for president.
Yeah.
You know, and it made it sound like that wasn't a good idea. So are you surprised now that a momentum is building, and by the reception you're getting from folks?
I'm thrilled with the reception we're getting around the country. And I just like to point out there's no way a random man could run for president, because the average American's living paycheck to paycheck, so it's not like they can quit their job and decide to run for office.
Don't take that.
I had a little bit of savings.
You had some savings.
Yeah.
And a very, very understanding spouse.
But also, for a random man running for president, you're actually polling higher than the senator in California, and you're also from California. You're polling higher than Kamala Harris in California. That is a pretty impressive feat at this point.
Thank you, Megan.
You're running. I love an unconventional campaign. I just do. You're not wearing ties. You're crowd surfing. By the way, Abby and I would like to join you at some point. It looked like so much fun. But you're reaching people who are not obsessed with cable news. Look at you. Not obsessed with Twitter. How have you gotten people, and how are you going to continue to get people who maybe don't know you as well as they do Biden and Sanders and Warren to check your name at the box?
I think we're doing so well, Megan, because we're talking about problems that Americans see around them every day. The fact that 30% of our stores and malls are closing because of Amazon, and Amazon's paying zero in taxes in return. And when I say that to Americans around the country, they see it around them. And the fact that we can build an economy that works for us, that vision will help address the problems that got Donald Trump elected in the first place. And Americans are very smart. We understand what's going on around us.
So you're having a ton of fun, and you've made it more fun for us, too, to watch, because campaigns aren't always fun and games. And for you, it always isn't fun and games. Bear with me. Last week, you came under fire by a former employee who worked for your testing company. This was back in 2007. She says after she came back from her honeymoon, you said she wouldn't work as hard because she started this new chapter in her life, and then you let her go. Where did this come from? Is there any truth to that?
There is zero truth to it, I'm happy to say. I've had so many phenomenal women leaders that have elevated me and my organizations at every phase of my career. And if I was that kind of person, I would never have had any success, which is right. I mean, I'm like most every other human being where if someone gets married, I'm happy for them.
So she made the whole thing up?
Yeah, she did. And it pained me when I saw it because I did work with her.
And she got fired?
And she did get let go. And it was because of absolutely nothing to do with her marital status, that's for sure.
Right. Okay. You're being very diplomatic.
Well,
About why she was let go, and that's all right. So let's.
No, I mean, I'm not here to,
Of course not.
I mean,
Let's go to this topic, though, because as a comedian person, I was interested in this story because you came out in support of Shane Gillis. This is a guy who they found in his past, not recent past actually, that he'd made some anti-Asian remarks that were not funny, and they dumped him from Saturday Night Live, but you backed him up, and you're Asian. So tell us about that.
He actually insulted me personally, used a racial epithet about me.
About you.
Individually. And so I reacted like most people would, which is like, what the heck is this? Who is this person? And then my wife and I settled down and watched some of his comedy and tried to figure out whether we thought he was evil or whether he was something else.
Yeah.
And watching his work, I thought that he was a still figuring it out comedian who told some offensive jokes. And that to me was not something that someone should lose their job over. And so as the person who was personally called out, I thought it was my place to say, look, I don't think this person should lose his job, and I was the person insulted, so we should use this as an opportunity to become a little bit more understanding and forgiving as a country, because right now we're in this time where we're, in my mind, unduly punitive and vindictive
And no
about
sense of
misstatements.
humor.
And no sense of humor. I mean, he's a comedian,
so
too.
the comedy removal services are out there, you know? And the other thing about you that I think you're funny because you do things like, like you're wearing this thing that says math because you're Asian. It's like a stereotype. So he goes for it. And what else did you do?
And there's a math hat right there.
It's a math hat right now.
There they are.
I just want to say, math is an acronym. It stands for Make America Think Harder. And that's what we have to do. We have to let our fellow citizens know that it's not immigrants causing economic problems around the country. It's technology and automation. We're in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution. And we have to wake up to that set of challenges.
A lot of people don't think it's funny, though. You say, I'm Asian, so I know a lot of doctors. I got it. I get it. But a lot of people don't get that. They think, what is he doing?
But on the flip side, I was having dinner with a bunch of conservatives last week, and we were saying that you're the only person that seems like you're having a really good time out there. And to bring positivity and levity, especially in this moment, is something to be lauded, I believe.
I try to do it every day.
And now since the last time you were here, I've been a little obsessed. I don't know if you heard about it. With
yeah, she loves you.
with your proposals about universal basic income, a freedom dividend. So I had a conversation with a friend of mine who said, perhaps it shouldn't be a cash thing. Maybe it should be a dividend so that everyone gets, because he loves the idea. He just feels that we would all do better if we supported these companies that would begin to pay taxes. We support them because they need us to keep going. And you have a different groove. So is there room for it to blossom, this idea?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the freedom dividend, $1,000 a month, it's a new foundation for us all.
Right.
But we can do many things on top of it.
Yes.
And I talk about the work that my wife does at home with our two boys, one of whom is autistic. We have to build an economy that works for her and caregivers around the country. We have to start expanding the way. Oh, yeah, I miss them when I'm on the road, which is an awful lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. But we have to redefine our own success because we have this GDP measurement that's driving us off a cliff while we're getting more anxious and depressed. And even our life expectancy is going down. So if we redefine our economic measurements to correspond to how we're doing and then lay a real foundation with this freedom dividend, then we can start moving in the direction you're describing.
I gotta ask this question. Why do you think no one on either side or in the middle has embraced this idea that companies that make their bones in our country should participate and help us participate in our growth. Why do you think the Republicans, the Democrats, the Independents, nobody is saying, hey, that is a great idea, and we should all be focusing on why did all these holes appear and suddenly nobody's paying taxes but us? I mean, why do you think that's not?
I think you know the answer, Whoopi, which is that our government's been bought and sold by these companies. And so if you have people whose money is beholden to various corporate donors or whatnot, then the last thing they want to do is call out how messed up a system we have.
Right.
If a $1 trillion tech company like Amazon can pay less in taxes than everyone in this room.
Yeah.
So you know you're not going anywhere right now, right?
Oh,
You
I hope
stay
not.
right there. We'll be right with more with Andrew Yang.
So you joke a lot about math, but recent polls show that you are only one of 2 Democratic candidates who are actually getting 10% of Trump voters. That's very impressive. It's actually a really big statistic. What do you think you're gaining and what message you're giving that so many Trump supporters are coming to you?
Well, if you look, Donald Trump called out a lot of the economic problems and struggles in these communities. If you go out to the industrial Midwest, a lot of them have never recovered from the loss of manufacturing jobs. And we need a real set of solutions for that set of problems. But I'm thrilled to have 10% or more of Donald Trump voters who are supporting my campaign, because that means when I am the Democratic nominee, we win the whole thing in 2020.
Okay. Okay. So Nancy Pelosi has started, the impeachment inquiry, and you didn't think it was a good idea. Why not? And Trump thinks that some people say that he's welcoming it. Do you think that's true, or is he just making that up, as usual?
I am on board with the decision to impeach Donald Trump.
Yes.
Because at some point, if you literally are calling foreign leaders and asking them for political help in return for releasing aid that Congress had already authorized, I mean, at some point you have to impeach and say, look, this is the right thing to do regardless of the political calculation. Yeah. I do think the politics may or may not work out in the right way, but we're a country of laws. You have to enforce the laws.
Yeah, you think it could blow back on Democrats if it's not done?
Well, this is the trap. Anytime we're talking about Donald Trump is winning. And Democrats need an affirmative vision that people are just as excited about. Like, if the Democratic message is Donald Trump bad, impeach Donald Trump, then we're actually increasing the chances of him getting a second term.
All right, well, let's talk about one of your policies, because it's one of them that I love is very near and dear to your heart. Your 6-year-old son is on the autism spectrum. Talk to us about the impact he has had in your life and what this policy is.
Well, when my wife and I realized that he was autistic, it was actually a huge relief because we were first-time parents and we were struggling and we didn't know what was normal, what wasn't normal. I mean, we obviously are thrilled about our son and we're getting him the resources that are allowing him to thrive. But when I looked around the country, I mean, my wife and I are in a very fortunate position. There are 2 of us, and I thought about single moms whom I've met on the trail who have autistic children who grow to be autistic adults. And one message I have for the American people is that atypical is the new normal. When we all have someone in our family or circle that is neurologically atypical, and we need to build schools and systems that accommodate them at every stage.
What do you mean you were relieved? I didn't get that. What were you relieved about?
Well, we were relieved because we were first-time parents, and when we were struggling with our son, or our son was struggling, we're like, are we terrible parents? Like, what is going on?
So you were relieved to see there was an
You know how
actual
many people
diagnosis.
were in your same position?
Yeah.
I hear from so many people, and who knows, I have young people. You never know what you're going to go through as a parent.
You
and
never know.
It's so real that you're talking about that on the campaign trail because it's relatable.
You also have over 150 proposals on very specific issues like paying college athletes, eliminating the penny.
Yes.
Eliminate the penny. It's annoying. And government rewards for coaching Little League or
Leave my penny alone.
fixing a neighbor's appliance. Some of these are funny. Are these the most pressing issues, do you think?
Well, I was introducing myself to the American people. I still am.
Yeah.
And I think the best way to introduce yourself is by letting people know what your vision is and what you would do as president. So that involves solving problems big and small. I want to ban robocalls. Why are we letting...
Ding the bell, Abby! Ding the bell!
I think these are real problems. And so if we have solutions at the ready, we should be talking about them.
The penny, though. I
Leave
agree
my
with that.
penny alone.
Uh-oh.
It's like moving Pluto. Leave the penny alone. Shouldn't have moved
I didn't
Pluto.
know you were so attached to the
I'm
penny.
very
Whoopi.
attached to the penny
Wow.
because the penny was how I learned how to count.
Oh, yeah. I know. Well,
So
but now
I
that you
am
know-
attached
But
to
now
it.
that you know.
I'm still not good. So we have 45 seconds.
Oh.
So what we're going to say is, you know, congratulations on all your success, and we're going to continue to watch and, you know, hope that you are able to build the kind of momentum that you need to go into the next, what is it called? Phase.
Are you in the next Democratic
I'm in the next.
debate?
I'm already in the next debate. I'm preparing some zingers. I'm
Oh.
not doing
No, you.
and then the next debate too. It looks like we're going to qualify as well.
I'm
Good for
glad.
you.
Thank you, Andrew Yang. We will be right back.